What if your reality isn't the truth, but a dream you forgot to question? What if the voices inside you, the coincidences around you, and the quiet unrest in your heart aren't disturbances, but signals? More and more people feel it. Something is changing. Not just on the outside, but deep within. Time is accelerating. Relationships are dissolving. Old certainties are crumbling. And at the same time, questions are rising. Questions you've never asked before. What is reality really? Why am I here? And what if everything you considered normal was part of a system designed to keep you small? In this video, we show you what ancient spiritual teachings, modern physics, near-death experiences, and consciousness research truly say about the nature of your soul, about what comes after death, but also what was forgotten before. Maybe this moment isn't a coincidence. Maybe it's the point where your timeline shifts. Welcome to Zeitgeist, how ancient cultures, modern physics, and spiritual teachings describe the concept of illusion, Maya, and the Matrix, and why your daily life has nothing to do with your true self. You wake up. Your body works. You go to work, listen to the news, scroll through endless feeds. You think you're conscious. But what if all of it, the voices in your head, the rules of your life, even your memories, aren't really you? I am Zeitgeist, and I tell you, what you call reality might just be the packaging, the stage, the game, and you're the one who forgot that you're the player. Even the oldest texts hint at this. The Vedas call it Maya, a veil of illusion that covers the world and makes you forget your divinity. Jesus spoke of the kingdom of God within you. The Mayan calendar speaks of ages of awakening and forgetting. And modern quantum physics? It confirms 99.999% of what we call matter is empty, a sensory illusion, a frequency interpreted by consciousness. You may not remember, but you came here voluntarily. You agreed to forget. Because only by getting lost can you truly find yourself. Scientists like Dr. Donald Hoffman now state clearly, the world we perceive is not a reflection of reality, it's an interface. Like a computer desktop doesn't show real files, just icons. What if everything you call the world is just a symbol, and you're the user behind it? The Matrix is not just a science fiction movie, it's a metaphor, and it's ancient. In Gnosticism, there was talk of archons, spiritual forces that bind humans to false identities. The Tibetan Bardo Thodol says the soul gets lost after death if it doesn't recognize that all light comes from itself, and how easily we are deceived. Our body, our thoughts, even our emotions are shaped by imprinting, culture, media. How often have you wanted something you never truly chose? The Matrix doesn't work with force, it works with persuasion. It shows you what's normal, what security means. It makes you dependent on approval, dopamine, and status, and it makes you small. But you are not small. You are limitless. A Stanford University study, 2024, showed people who meditate daily and consciously work with their awareness, activate brain regions associated with non-duality and self-transcendence. This means your brain can evolve beyond the Matrix if you're willing to recognize it. But the first step is the hardest. Seeing that your life so far was a dream, not a nightmare, not a mistake, but still a dream. It served you, it shaped you. But now, it's time to wake up. And if you're hearing this, then that's exactly what's happening. It's no coincidence. Many near-death experiencers report the same thing. When I left my body, I suddenly knew I was never that. I was so much more. They saw themselves, but were no longer in their body. They experienced, often for the first time, truth, peace, clarity, love. So why do so many need a shock to awaken? Because the Matrix is comfortable. It gives you roles, it gives you enemies, it gives you distraction, and it makes sure you never pause for long. But let me ask you, when was the last time you truly paused? Not your breath, but your autopilot? Your life begins where you start to remember that you are not your job, not your looks, not your pain. You are the one who can observe all of it. Inner unrest, sudden clarity, detachment. What spiritual awakening truly involves and the phases your consciousness moves through as it expands. Maybe you've experienced it yourself. Suddenly you feel like a stranger in your own life. Conversations feel empty, habits lose their charm, and something inside you starts whispering, a quiet but unmistakable voice. It's as if an inner veil is slowly being pulled aside, and that's often the first impulse from your true self. A first spark from your soul whispering, there is more. Not louder, but clearer than everything else. Awakening rarely begins dramatically. It's not lightning in the sky, but rather a quiet crack in the ordinary. Many report a deep inner restlessness, a sense that the life they've lived isn't all there is, that they've been functioning, but not truly living, that they've played roles, student, partner, achiever, but never really been themselves. And this restlessness, however uncomfortable, is a gift, because it signals that your old self is beginning to dissolve. Some describe this moment as sudden clarity, a song, a sentence, a look, and suddenly, an inner puzzle piece falls into place. You begin to see how much you've adapted, how often you've shrunk yourself to please others, how much you've tried to meet expectations that were never yours. And this clarity is painful, but healing, because it helps you see what's real and what's not. A typical sign of awakening is the feeling of detachment. You go to a party and suddenly feel, this is no longer me. You hear the news and feel that fear no longer controls you. You enter your old life, but something in you remains still, like a witness. This detachment doesn't mean you're above others. It means you're beginning to rediscover yourself, beyond opinions, patterns, and masks. In this phase, your relationships often change too. You withdraw or become more sensitive to energy. People who used to be important may suddenly feel empty. Shallow conversations exhaust you. And at the same time, new encounters arise, almost as if guided. Books, videos, people that inspire you. Everything seems orchestrated, as if a higher intelligence is preparing your path. Scientifically, this phase is often linked to neural restructuring. Studies from Stanford University, 2024, show when people undergo spiritual crises, activity shifts in the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for ego, self-image, and inner chatter. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex becomes more active, the center for intuition, ethics, and spiritual processing. What we call spiritual awakening leaves measurable traces in the body. But this phase is not all light. Many go through a dark night of the soul. Old wounds resurface, fears you've long suppressed break open. It's as if the light of your soul first illuminates the shadows within. And that is where the power lies, because you can only heal what you face, only release what you feel, only grow when you're ready to walk through the darkness with an open heart. And sometimes, suddenly, comes a moment of deep stillness. No thought, no doubt, just being. Maybe while walking, maybe during meditation, or while looking into the eyes of someone who truly sees you. This moment is not a climax, it's a memory, a touch with your origin, and once you've felt it, you'll never forget it. Intuition, resonance, synchronicities, how your soul constantly speaks to you, how to hear it again, and what happens when you respond. Sometimes it's just a subtle impulse, a thought that catches your attention, a sudden shiver with no apparent cause, or an inner pull that tells you, go that way. Many call it coincidence, but what if it's much more? What if it's your soul speaking in a language beyond words, a language of feeling, vibration, energy? And the quieter you become, the clearer you hear it. Intuition is not a soft gut feeling. It is the highest form of inner intelligence. Many studies, including a 2023 meta-analysis from the University of Leeds, show that intuitive decisions are often faster and more accurate than purely rational ones. Our intuition accesses experiences our conscious mind doesn't recall, and information beyond measurable fields. At the HeartMath Institute, this is called heart intelligence, a coherent field connected to the world through electromagnetic resonance. Next time you feel something inside, a clear no, a warm yes, an impulse to pause, observe it. We often sense the truth before we can explain it. But in our noisy world, we've forgotten how to listen. We override ourselves with arguments, with shoulds and what ifs. But your soul doesn't argue, it whispers. And if you become still, you'll hear it more clearly than ever. Another tool of your soul is resonance. You enter a room and instantly feel something's off. You meet a person and instantly feel there's connection. Resonance is like an inner seismograph. It vibrates with everything that aligns with your field and warns you of what drains you. It's not judgment, it's a signpost. Here you find yourself, or here you lose yourself. Learn to trust this frequency. It is more precise than any argument. Then there are synchronicities, seemingly random coincidences that feel like messages. You think of someone, and they call. You wonder about something, and the next book you open gives you the answer. Psychologist Carl Jung called this synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence where external events align deeply with inner processes. Many spiritual teachers say, as you get closer to your soul, life becomes orchestrated. The right signs appear. The path reveals itself, often one step at a time. But why do so many people say they've lost their intuition, that they feel nothing? The answer often lies in the noise of the world, in constant media, expectations, and self-doubt. The soul doesn't shout louder when you ignore it. It becomes quiet, and yet it never stops. It just takes your decision to reconnect through silence, nature, writing, breathing, presence. Every mindful moment is an open channel through which your soul's light can flow again. And then comes the moment when you begin to act, not out of fear, but from truth. You say no because your heart trembles. You say yes even though your mind hesitates. You follow what feels aligned, even if you can't explain it. And suddenly, everything shifts. Doors open, people leave or enter. You feel strength where there was doubt, peace where there was struggle. Because when you follow your soul, you follow your life's blueprint. Many near-death experiencers speak of this, that in the beyond, they experienced how much their soul was always guiding them, and how often they ignored it. In Dying to Be Me, Anita Moorjani describes a voice that warned her again and again, softly but clearly. Only near death did she begin to truly listen. But we don't have to die to hear this voice. We just need to become still enough to remember. It was never gone. And what happens when you listen to your soul? You become magnetic, not outwardly but inwardly clear. People feel your authenticity. Situations begin to align. You become a lighthouse, not because you know everything, but because you trust yourself. And that trust changes everything. Maybe you're already in this process. Maybe you've already felt the old doesn't work anymore, and you don't yet know what the new looks like, but you feel it calling. Then stay with it. Follow your resonance. And remember, your soul is always speaking to you. You just have to learn to listen again. HeartMath, quantum physics and hermetic knowledge, how reality truly forms and what your frequency, focus, and inner state have to do with it. What if the world around you isn't just out there, but a mirror of your innermost beliefs? What if you're not just a spectator, but a co-creator? More and more scientists and spiritual teachers confirm reality isn't fixed, it's malleable, and you are the key. Modern quantum physics shows particles don't exist independently of observation. They behave based on the observer's focus. The famous double-slit experiment proved this. Light and matter are both wave and particle, and only through our attention does reality collapse into a specific form. Put simply, your focus determines the world you experience. The HeartMath Institute confirms. Your heart emits an electromagnetic field measurable over 2 meters, and this field is not neutral. It vibrates based on your emotional state. When you're in fear, your field contracts, your perception narrows, your access to intuition dims. But when you're in coherence, when heart and mind resonate, a state arises that not only promotes healing, but fills your reality with new possibilities. Ancient Hermetic teachings knew this long ago. As above, so below, as within, so without. This isn't just a spiritual slogan, it's a principle of nature. Your inner world is the projector. The outer world is just the screen. If you want to change the outside, you must first act within. Your thoughts shape your frequency. Your frequency shapes your resonance. And that resonance determines what you attract. Example, 2 people enter the same room. One feels at ease, meets interesting people, and leaves inspired. The other feels out of place, faces rejection, and leaves frustrated. Was it the room or the energy they brought? Neurobiology supports this too. Studies show our brain filters millions of bits of information per second and only shows us what matches our inner beliefs. If you believe you're worthless, you'll find proof. If you start believing you are guided, you'll see signs where before there were only coincidences. This doesn't mean you're to blame for everything that happens, but you do have a choice in how you respond and what frequency you emit. Trauma, loss, pain, all of it is real. But the question is whether you close off because of it, or learn to find your strength within it. Many people share, when they began choosing their thoughts consciously, not from fear but from love, their lives changed, not instantly, not magically, but clearly. New people entered, new opportunities emerged, because your energy sends a signal, and the universe responds. Synchronicities aren't random. They are signals from reality that you're on the right path. When something feels light, aligned, full of energy, you're in resonance with your soul's path. When something drains you, restricts you, repeatedly fails, it shows where you're living against your truth. Spiritual teachers like Neville Goddard and Dr. Joe Dispenza teach, you must feel what you want to experience before it appears. Don't wait for the outside to change so you can feel different inside. Instead, generate the frequency now that matches your goal. This isn't wishful thinking, it's applied creation. The future isn't a fixed place, it's a field of possibilities. And you choose, moment by moment, which reality you step into, through your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Remember, you are not a victim of circumstances, you are not a passive observer, you are a creator. And your most important task is not to control everything, but to choose your frequency, because that frequency is the signal your life listens to. Near-death experiences, past life regressions, spiritual literature, what really happens when we leave the body, and the levels of consciousness that follow. What if death is not the end, but just a transition, gentle, aware, clearer than life ever was? Thousands of people who were clinically dead and came back report a feeling of deep love, the release of all pain, and a journey into a realm beyond words. Mainstream medicine calls them near-death experiences, but those who truly listen understand these are not hallucinations. They are reports of consciousness beyond the body. People describe watching themselves from above, observing doctors, hearing conversations, even though their brain was proven to be inactive. What follows is often a tunnel, not of darkness but of light, a light that isn't external but an inner presence. Some call it God, others source, others simply home. In this light, there is no fear, only understanding. Spiritual texts like the Tibetan Book of the Dead or Bardo Thodol describe this state as an in-between world, a space between incarnations where consciousness is free, but also guided by its own frequency. There, images appear, beings, memories, not as judgment, but as mirrors. Regression researchers like Dr. Michael Newton have documented thousands of cases where souls enter realms of light after death, some immediately, others after a cleansing phase, not as punishment, but as clarification. Our vibration decides where we go, not some external judgment. Some souls don't even realize they've died. They remain stuck in a transitional space, caught in old thought patterns. Others are greeted by beings of light, with infinite patience. These beings guide, clarify, remind, but never force. A central element in many near-death experiences is the life review. But it's not about guilt or punishment. It's about understanding. You relive your actions from the perspective of others. Feel what you caused. Not to be judged, but to grow. What happens next seems universal. You are asked whether you want to return or whether your time has come. And many report the choice is free. They return because they have something left to fulfill. A task, a love, a child. These experiences transform lives. The fear of death disappears because they realize we are more than bodies, more than thoughts. We are consciousness, infinite, connected, guided. And that means even in life we have access to this in-between world. In meditation, in dreams, in moments of deep stillness. And when we let go, not just at the end, but in the middle of life, something new begins. Your consciousness does not end with the body, it only changes levels. And maybe if you become completely still, you'll hear the call of that world, the one that was always there, just hidden behind the veil of matter. When you realize who you are, a new game begins, but this time with real awareness. Here we show how to consciously shape your reality instead of being shaped by it. What if you're not a victim of circumstance, but the originator? Not a passive observer of your life, but the actual programmer of the reality around you. This chapter is about a radical shift in perspective. You are not here to get lost, but to remember that you are consciousness, energy, creative force, and human form. Many spiritual traditions, whether Christian mysticism, Hermetic teachings, or Vedic wisdom, speak of the inner Christ, the Atman, or the divine spark. They all mean the same thing, an essence within you that has never been separate. And once you realize this, everything changes. You begin to observe how your thoughts create reality, how your words have impact, how your focus directs energy, and you stop defining yourself by external events. HeartMath, the Institute for Heart Intelligence, shows our heart sends out an electromagnetic field that measurably affects other people and even our environment. Emotions like gratitude, compassion, or clarity generate a coherent frequency, synchronizing you with higher possibilities. Quantum physics also confirms reality is not fixed, it's potential, unfolding through consciousness. Experiments like the double-slit test prove the observer influences the outcome, not by acting, but by paying attention. The essence of this insight is, you are not here to survive a matrix, but to design your own game. You can change the playing field by rewriting your inner program. How? By becoming present, by feeling consciously, by recognizing and replacing old thought patterns, by acting not from fear, but from creative power, by asking yourself each day, what do I really want to send, feel, create? Many people report this phenomenon. Life begins to respond. You think of someone, and they call. You choose a path, and doors open, not because of luck, but because you generate resonance. This is the return of the Creator, not as an ego trip, but as a conscious choice to lead your life from your heart, no longer against life, but with it. And when you begin to feel this presence in every encounter, every moment, then you've arrived. Not at the goal, but at the origin, where everything begins, with you. You remember, you chose all of this body, this time, these experiences, and now you choose again. In the next chapter, we'll see what happens when more and more people make this choice together. The collective frequency shifts, and with it, our world. What your soul truly desires, why you're here now, and how we enter a new timeline together. It's not a concept, it's a calling. Maybe it was just a moment, a quiet thought, a dream, a feeling you couldn't explain. And yet, you knew. Something inside you remembers. A deeper truth. A plan older than this world. You're not here by accident. This life, this body, this moment, they're part of a choice you once made. Your soul agreed to be here now, not to function, but to awaken. We live in a time of transition, between old systems and new reality, between fear and consciousness, between forgetting and remembering. And you stand at the threshold. What if you're no longer just the player, but the creator? What if you begin to create, to feel, to transmit from within? Many spiritual traditions say, the world does not change through power, but through frequency, through heart, through truth, your truth. And that is your mission, to recognize yourself, not by becoming something, but by remembering who you really are. Maybe you're here to offer an impulse only you can give. Maybe your light, your presence, your words are enough to start a shift. The greatest changes begin quietly. If you feel this, you're part of it, part of this transformation, part of a new timeline. Not fought for, but chosen. Because awakening is not a theory, it is a decision. If you feel this, you're part of it, part of this transformation, part of a new timeline. Not fought for, but chosen. Because awakening is not a theory, it is a decision.